All right, everyone. You know what the worst feeling in the world is? Dismantling something and then realizing it could have easily sold on the market for hundreds of gold. And this is something that's going to be very easy to do, specifically with accessories that you end up getting from Abyss dungeons. And so what I wanted to do in the video today is I wanted to go over a couple of key differences that's going to make the accessories from Abyss dungeons quite a bit better and different from the ones that you get from Chaos dungeons, and why you really want to look at these a lot harder than the ones that you do from Chaos dungeons. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still get accessories from Chaos dungeons that are valuable, but there's a couple of key differences in these Abyss dungeon accessories that I wanted to go over, and you really want to look at these very, very carefully before you end up dismantling them. So one thing that I will say, if you actually take a look at all of these, there's going to be one big thing in particular that they all actually have in common, and it's not the bonus effect, it's not the quality, it's not even the accessory type, but if you actually notice at the very bottom with the random engraving effects, this is now something, especially as you get into tier 2 and higher, that you really want to start taking a look at on your accessories. I haven't really talked about this too much because especially like in tier 1, you know you're going to be replacing that gear very, very quickly, and because of that, you don't really need to pay much attention to the random engraving effects, knowing that that gear is just going to be replaced soon anyway. But now, especially as you get into tier 2 and higher, this is something you really, really want to look at a lot more when it comes to the accessories that you get, because people are going to be looking for very specific things, and they're going to be looking for boosts to the engravings that they are going to be trying to get boosts on. So one thing in particular with the Abyss accessories is they all actually have one of two very particular engravings. So this is going to be different depending on the class that you play. But for me right now, because I just went through and I did a run on my Sorceress, you'll notice that the Sorceress class engravings is Igniter and Reflex. These are your two passive class engravings. Obviously, there's going to be different ones for different classes, but all of the accessories that I actually ended up getting from my Abyss dungeon have one of those two random engravings. They all either have a Reflex engraving roll or they all have an Igniter engraving roll. And this is really, really important because this is going to be a very big one that a lot of people look for when it comes to their gear, because this is a very good engraving. It's specific to your class. People are going to be looking for boosts to this, and knowing that all of your accessories from the Abyss dungeon are going to guaranteed have one of these rolls on it is really, really big, because already right off the bat, you have one important thing that people are looking for in accessories that's already been rolled on the stuff that you got. So that's a big one. Now, obviously, as well, notice that it's either going to have a node +1 or a node +2 roll, and obviously 2 is better than 1. So especially if you get something that has like your class-specific engraving for Sorceress, Igniter, Reflex, and it's a +2 node, that's already a sign that you really want to look carefully at this accessory to see how valuable it actually is. So that's one really big one. Another really big one is this is all the stuff that I ended up getting for my Arc of Arrogance Abyss dungeon runs, and notice just the quality on the accessories is pretty darn high. Like my lowest quality ones are some like 68. I might have one that's a little bit lower, but they're all pretty darn high quality. Compared to when you run your Chaos dungeons, you're probably going to notice that you might end up getting some high quality accessories. It does happen, but overall, a lot of them are really, really low quality. And that's actually very important because that's another thing that people are going to be looking for when it comes to buying their accessories. They're going to be looking for the engraving effects. They're going to be looking for good engraving effects, especially ones that are specific to their class, like Igniter and Reflex. And they're also going to be looking for a higher quality accessory because obviously quality increases the stat effects of the bonus effect. So if you don't know what the quality does, it doesn't increase the basic effects, which, like for this earring is the intelligence and the vitality, but that bonus effect, which is the crit +181, that's actually the highest crit that you can end up getting on this Abyss earring because it's 100 quality. It doesn't go any higher. If you look at another one, though, this one is 57 quality, and it's not a crit roll, it's an expertise roll, but notice that it's a 157 and not a 171. So that's going to be the variable stat. This one has lower swiftness, it's 166, so with a 16 lower quality compared to this one here, it has 5 less stat points. This is something that people are going to start to look for more. It's not as big of a deal as the engraving effects, but it's still nice to know that the accessories that you got from the Abyss dungeons are all generally going to have a pretty high quality roll. So that's the other thing as well. Now, of course, you have one of the engravings which is specific to the class. The other thing that you want to look for is what's the other engraving? Because if you have like a +2 class specific engraving, Igniter, Reflex, and then the other engraving is decent as well, at that point, even if the quality is not amazing, and even if the bonus effect is not super amazing, like you've already got an accessory that might actually sell just based off of the engraving effects. Now, if you have a good bonus effect, and you have a +2 class-specific roll with another decent engraving, these are the kinds of accessories that are going to easily sell for well over 100 gold on the market. And it's really easy when you're a newer player to not even really realize that, to not know like which engravings are good, which engravings are not as good, and to just end up thinking that because it rolled a low quality, or maybe it didn't roll like a super insanely good bonus effect, that this is something that somebody's not going to buy. And that's absolutely not true, especially as you get to tier 2 accessories. So that's the other thing. Now, when it comes to the actual bonus effects, which bonus effects are generally going to be more desirable? And as a generalization, I will say that swiftness, specialization, and crit are generally more sought after than the other three, which are domination, expertise, and endurance. Now, of course, that's just a generalization, but especially like on a necklace as well, necklaces are going to have a combination of 2 bonus effects. So there's even more randomness as in what stat effects you're going to get. And if you get 2 out of the 3 that I mentioned that are kind of the more desirable ones, like 2 out of 3 swiftness, specialization, and crit, that's going to add even more potential for your accessory to sell for more. Now, when it comes to the engravings, which engravings are going to be, the better ones? And this is something that, as a generalization, might end up changing a bit over time. But there's a few in particular. Grudge is a particularly good. These are non-class engravings, like not specific to your class, so not Igniter, Reflex for Sorceress. These are for general engravings for all classes. Grudge is typically a decent one. Cursed Doll is typically a decent one. Adrenaline is also a pretty decent one. There's a few others. So just as an example, I went through my jewelry and I found a couple of them that I thought would be good examples. I've got one that's kind of like a decent item, and then I've got one which is actually that necklace in the bottom right, which is like super, super good, that I know is going to sell for a very good chunk of silver. Both of them, though, definitely not stuff that I would dismantle. And this is just kind of like the stuff that you're looking out for when it comes to your jewelry from Abyss Dungeons. So let's look at the ring first. And this is a good example of a pretty decent one. Of course, it's got 100 quality. It looks really nice. It's got that nice orange bar. It's got a swiftness roll on it, which is good. It's one of the more desirable bonus effects that people are looking for on jewelry. And it also has a +2 reflex node on it as well, which is really nice. Now, all of the Abyss jewelry is going to have either reflex or igniter for me, but they don't all have a +2 roll, so it's nice that this one had a +2. One of the downsides about it, though, is that the second engraving is not really super amazing. It's not terrible, but it's generally not one of the most desirable ones that people are looking for, which is that contender roll. But it's still overall definitely not a bad ring that is absolutely going to be worth more than what it would dismantle into. And now for the second example, I wanted to take a look at that necklace in the bottom right. And this is an example of a very valuable necklace that is absolutely going to sell for a good chunk of gold. Definitely would be a disaster to accidentally dismantle this. And this is going to have a good combination of all the things that you're really looking for when it comes to your Abyss accessories. So if we take a look at it, you'll see here, the quality, it's not 100, it's not quite as high, but it's still decent. 77 quality is good. The 2 bonus effects, crit and swiftness, are both very desirable. That's a good, very desirable combination of bonus effects that a lot of people are looking for. And on top of that, the juiciest part, if you take a look at the random engraving effects, you'll see out of Igniter and Reflex, it rolled Reflex for one of the effects. It's always going to roll one of those 2 if it's an accessory from Abyss Dungeons. It rolled +2, so it's not a +1 Reflex roll, so that's good. And it also rolled Awakening as the second engraving effect, which is another very desirable engraving effect that people are looking for on their accessories. So overall, this is a super solid necklace that is definitely going to sell for a very good price. And this is the kind of stuff, this is like the grail of what you're really looking for. This would be a complete disaster to accidentally dismantle this. And I wanted to show you guys some examples. I wanted to kind of talk you guys through this information because I don't want you making a very easy mistake to make, which is to just see it and then not really realize what's good and not, and then just dismantle it and end up giving up a massive fortune that you could be sitting on. So take a good hard look at your accessories, especially tier 2 and higher accessories from your Abyss Dungeons, because you could be sitting on a big pile of gold without even knowing about it. So anyway, that's going to be about it for this video. I threw a lot of info at you guys in just a few minutes, so I'm going to leave it here. I hope that this helped out. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you did, consider leaving a quick like, consider subscribing to the channel and turning notifications on for future videos like this. And feel free to check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/salt, where I'll be streaming Lost Ark as well as other games. Thanks again, everyone. Take care, and until next time.